Have you ever looked into the eyes of a woman and wondered, what truly makes her melt? What makes her weak? Not in body, but in heart? Most men think it's about money, or looks, or status. But they're wrong. There are certain emotional, psychological, and even philosophical triggers, weaknesses, if you will, that many women try to hide. But they reveal themselves to the man who knows where to look, and today we're going to expose them one by one. But before we begin, I want you to do two things. First, subscribe to this channel and like this video if you're tired of the fluff and want the raw, powerful truth based on ancient wisdom and modern psychology. Second, watch this video till the very end, because what you'll learn could transform your love life forever. This isn't manipulation. This is understanding, mastery. As the Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." Let's seek the truth together. The Roman general and the empress. Let me tell you a story. Lucius, a respected Roman general, once found himself entangled not in war but in love. He had returned from the battlefield a hero, yet he stood helpless in front of a woman named Valeria, empress by blood, but a mystery by spirit. He had conquered kingdoms, but her silence conquered him. He sent gifts. She ignored them. He offered power. She yawned. He brought poetry. She left. But one night, when Lucius asked Marcus Aurelius for advice, the wise emperor didn't speak of seduction, he spoke of self-mastery. A woman, like any person, is not conquered by force. She is moved by essence. Lucius listened. He changed, and for the first time, Valeria bowed not to the man's wealth, but to his presence. Let's explore what Marcus Aurelius would consider the 9 timeless weaknesses of women, not to manipulate them, but to understand and elevate your value as a man. 1. A man with direction. Have you ever fallen for a woman so deeply that her smile felt like sunlight, warming a frozen part of your soul? You remember how she looked at you? That first time, when everything felt like a movie, like you were the hero in the center of her universe. Now let me ask the harder question. Where is she now? Still in your life? Or just a memory wrapped in regret and quiet what-ifs? If you've ever loved and lost, then this story is yours. There was a time in your life when you had her attention. The texts came fast. The calls lasted for hours. The laughs were real. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. Maybe you didn't even notice it at first. Maybe you were too caught up in her and trying to make her happy that you stopped being you. Your goals took a back seat. Your vision blurred. Your direction got lost. You started living for her instead of living with purpose. And slowly she pulled away. Why? Because a man without direction feels like a boat with no anchor. He drifts. And women? They don't want to drift. They want to trust a man's current. Let's rewind this. Picture yourself at your best. That time you were so focused on your goals, so in tune with your mission, that nothing could shake you. Remember that version of you? That's the man she fell for. It wasn't the jokes. It wasn't the flowers. It wasn't even the way you touched her. It was your presence. That quiet confidence that whispered, "I know where I'm going, with or without you." Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic Emperor, once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." It's not about being rich. It's not about being the hottest guy in the room. It's about being the man who wakes up with a sense of direction, a man with a map in his soul. Do you have that map? Do you still remember what you wanted before she came into your life? Because here's the truth. A woman will admire your love, but she will only respect your direction. So ask yourself this tonight. What is your mission? What would you die for? And more importantly, what are you living for? The woman of your dreams isn't waiting for a man who texts back fast. She's waiting for a man who moves through the world with purpose. A man who says, "I'd love for you to walk beside me, but if not, I still walk." That's your power. That's your edge. And that's the first secret weakness most women won't admit. They crave a man who leads himself. So if you've ever lost her, don't chase her. Find your direction again. Because when you do, either she'll come running back, or someone better will recognize your stride. And that love, that one stays. 2. Emotional restraint under pressure. Have you ever been in a situation where everything felt like it was falling apart, but she was watching how you'd react? You know the moment I'm talking about. Maybe she accused you of something you didn't do. Maybe she started a fight out of nowhere. Or maybe She went silent, distant, like she'd disappeared emotionally, just to see what you'd do. How did you react? Did you stay calm? Did you stay rooted? Or did you lose control? If you're honest, you've probably lost your cool before. We all have. You said things you didn't mean. You raised your voice. You texted her paragraphs, long, desperate messages, hoping she'd see your side. But she didn't. She didn't respect it. She didn't feel closer. In fact, she probably pulled further away. Why? Because your emotional reaction broke something. She didn't even know she needed from you, your stability. Let me tell you a story that might feel a little too familiar. There was a night, you and her, locked in another pointless argument. It started over something small but escalated fast. She was emotional. You were angry. She cried. You shouted, and when it was over, there was the silence. Not peace, just emptiness. She didn't want to be right. She wanted to feel safe. But instead of feeling protected by your presence, she felt shaken by your reaction. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, surrounded by war, betrayal, and pressure unimaginable, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That right there is the key. Because in every relationship, a moment will come when she'll test you, not to hurt you, but to see what you're made of. Not consciously, but emotionally. And if you break, if you lose control of yourself, she'll start to question, if he can't handle me, how will he handle life? Ask yourself, have you ever said something in anger that you regretted for years? Have you ever seen a woman's eyes change from trust to fear all because you lost your temper? Have you ever thought, if only I had stayed calm, maybe she'd still be here? Because here's the hard truth. Women remember how you made them feel in their most emotional moments. And if your energy added chaos instead of calm, they never forget. But here's the beauty of it all. The next time she storms out of the room, the next time she throws emotional lightning your way, you can be the eye of the storm. You don't need to win the argument. You don't need to fix her feelings. You just need to remain grounded. Be the mountain. Unshakable, because her hidden weakness is a man who refuses to lose himself even when she's losing control. You want to be unforgettable? Control your emotions. Not just for her, for you. Because the man who remains calm under pressure, he doesn't chase love. He commands respect. 3. Deep focused attention. Do you remember the first time you really looked at her? Not just glanced at her, but actually saw her? The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. The way her eyes danced when she laughed. Like she was letting you in on a secret only you were allowed to know. That moment, when the world fell away and it was just you and her in that beautiful silence. What if I told you? That kind of attention is a superpower. Not many men know this, but I'll let you in on something women rarely say out loud. Their deepest weakness, what truly melts them, is not your looks, your money, or your status. It's your presence. There's a man we all know, or used to be. He's there on dates, but he's checking his phone. He nods while she's talking, but he's thinking about work, or sports, or what's for dinner. He gives her his time, but not his attention. And every time she looks into his eyes and sees that distracted fog, a little part of her trust dies. But then there's the rare man, the stoic, the grounded one, the one who can sit across from her and see her, fully and clearly without flinching. The man whose eyes say, I am nowhere else but here. You have my full attention. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. Retreat to it. Now imagine if you became that peaceful place for her. A woman may dress up for the world. She may post pictures and wear a smile. But when she sits in front of a man who sees past the surface, who listens not to reply but to feel, that's when she starts falling in love for real. Let me ask you, when was the last time you listened to a woman without trying to solve her problem? When was the last time you remembered the little things she said about her childhood, her dreams or her scars? When was the last time she cried? And you stayed, just sat in it with her without pulling away? Because real presence is rare, and rare is irresistible. Women test men all the time, not just with drama or silence. Sometimes their greatest test is when they talk about something soft, something vulnerable, and the moment you glaze over or change the subject or laugh it off, she feels alone, not because you're a bad man, but because she realized you weren't fully there. So here's your challenge. The next time you're with her, look at her like it's the last time you'll ever see her. Like she's not just a body, not just a girl, but a universe trying to be understood. Because her secret weakness is a man who listens like the world depends on it. And when you give her that, she will crave you more than any alpha ever could. Subtle indifference. Have you ever wanted her so badly that she could feel it in every text, every call, every move you made? Be honest. You thought loving her hard was the way to win her. So you chased, you over-explained. You waited for replies like a starving man waits for crumbs. And at first, maybe she liked it. That attention. That validation. But then, something shifted. She started pulling back. She replied slower. She got colder, more distant. And you panicked. You asked yourself, what did I do wrong? I gave her everything. And that right there was the problem. Women, especially feminine women, are drawn to mystery and emotional balance, not obsession. They want to feel desired, yes, but they crave to earn a man's desire, not be suffocated by it. You see, subtle indifference is not about being rude or playing games. It's about not being emotionally dependent on her response. It's about holding your power, your value, no matter how beautiful she is. Let's go back to Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic king of restraint. He said, "You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action, and be satisfied if each one achieves its goal as far as possible." That means this: you don't chase what's unstable. You don't beg for what doesn't serve you. You move forward, action by action, like a man on a mission. Picture this. She pulls away. You don't panic. She ignores your message. You don't double text. She tries to make you jealous, post something provocative. You stay silent, composed, powerful. That quiet silence, the emotional unavailability she can't decode, that's what haunts her thoughts at night. Because suddenly, you're not reacting. You're not easy. You're not begging. You've become a question she doesn't have the answer to, and that drives her wild. Let me ask you, have you ever noticed how the moment you stopped caring, she came running back? Have you ever been so focused on yourself that she was the one trying to get your attention? Have you ever said less and watched her do more? That's subtle indifference, not cruelty. Control. Control over your emotions. Control over your energy. Control over your self-worth. Because the truth is, the more you chase, the less she values you. But the more you stand still in your strength, the more she's drawn in. She wants to feel chosen, but not by a man who needs her. By a man who could have anyone, but still picks her. Calmly, confidently, without fear of losing. That's magnetic. So next time she pulls away, don't chase. Next time she tests you, don't react. Next time she gets distant, let her. Because that calm silence, that quiet, dignified indifference, it's louder than begging will ever be. 5 playful mystery. Do you remember the first time a woman couldn't figure you out, and it drove her crazy in the best way? Not because you were distant, not because you were rude, but because you had this spark, this mysterious edge, that made her lean in just to understand what you were really about. She would say things like, "You're different. I can't tell what you're thinking. You're always calm, but there's something going on in there, isn't there?" And when you smiled and said nothing, she got hooked. But somewhere along the way, a lot of men lose that. They get comfortable, predictable, too available. They reveal too much too soon. They explain every feeling. They reply instantly. They stop being a puzzle and start becoming a manual, easy to read, easy to forget. But here's the truth. Women are not wired to crave answers. They're wired to chase the feeling of discovery. And once they've figured you out, once they know exactly what you'll say, how you'll react, where your soul lives, the chase ends. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So let me ask you, what color are your thoughts? Predictable, anxious, or intriguing? Playful, mysterious? Because the man who keeps a little to himself, who lets her wonder instead of explaining, that man, he becomes unforgettable. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a guy who was always texting, always planning, always there. He thought consistency would make her stay. But then one day she met a guy who was calm, cool, unrushed. He didn't text her every hour. He didn't flood her with compliments. Instead, he told stories that hinted at deeper parts of his life, without fully revealing them. She started thinking about him all day. Why? Because mystery activates imagination, and imagination creates desire. Now let's bring this back to you. When was the last time a woman wondered where your mind was? When was the last time you shared something intriguing, then stopped halfway and said, "I'll tell you the rest another time"? When was the last time you left her thinking about you instead of chasing her? You don't need to lie. You don't need to manipulate. You just need to stop giving everything away. Let her ask questions. Let her try to solve the riddle. Let her feel that tiny distance, not coldness but depth. Be like a favorite book she keeps rereading, hoping to find something new in each chapter. Because here's her secret weakness. She falls hardest for the man who gives her just enough, but never too much. The man who smiles at her with that look that says, "You don't even know the half of it yet." When you master playful mystery, she won't just like you, she'll crave you. Because every woman remembers the man who made her curious, long after the conversations ended. 6. Integrity above approval. Have you ever betrayed yourself? Just to keep her around? Maybe it was the way you stopped hanging out with your friends, just because she didn't like them. Or how you laughed at her jokes when they weren't funny, agreed with her opinions even when you didn't, said yes when every cell in your body was screaming no, and maybe deep down you told yourself, this is what love looks like. Compromise. But was it really love? Or was it fear, dressed in politeness? Fear of being left, fear of being seen as too harsh, fear of losing her, so you lost yourself first. There's a moment every man remembers, a moment when he stood in front of the mirror and asked, "Who the hell am I becoming?" You looked at your reflection and you didn't recognize the man staring back. Because he was walking on eggshells, because he was performing, not living, because he had traded in self-respect for her approval. And the irony? She lost respect for you the moment you did. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." It sounds simple, but in relationships, it's one of the hardest things a man can live by. Because when you like a woman, you want her to like you back. You want harmony. You want closeness. So you bend, you mold, you soften. But there's a thin line between kindness and self-abandonment. And once you cross it, she doesn't see a strong man. She sees a man who needs her more than he needs his own soul. Let me ask you, have you ever agreed with her just to avoid conflict? Have you ever apologized just to keep the peace even when you weren't wrong? Have you ever said, "I'm fine," when your whole world was on fire just to not appear weak? That's not love. That's fear. That's approval seeking. And it's killing your masculine core. But here's what happens when you flip the script. When you say what you mean even if your voice shakes. When you stand on your truth calmly even if she disagrees. When you stop apologizing for your boundaries and start defending your values. That's when she starts to feel you. Not the mask. Not the people pleaser. You. And that man is rare. That man is respected. That man is wanted not because he tries, but because he doesn't. Her secret weakness? It's not the man who says yes every time. It's the man who looks her in the eye and says, "I care about you, but I won't lie to myself to keep you." Because women don't fall for men who need approval. They fall for men who walk in truth, even if it costs them the girl. 7. Mastery of words and silence. Have you ever said too much and watched her pull away? You poured your heart out, explained your emotions, tried to clarify, to fix, to make her understand. And the more you talked, the colder she got. Have you lived that moment? It stings, because we're taught to communicate, to express our feelings, to open up. But here's the twist life doesn't prepare you for. Real power in relationships doesn't come from the man who says the most. It comes from the man who knows when to speak and when to be silent. There was a guy, we'll call him Daniel. He loved a woman who tested him constantly. One day she said, "Maybe we're not meant for each other." And Daniel unbroke. He panicked. He begged. He sent paragraph after paragraph, texting, calling, explaining why she was wrong, why they could work, why she had to stay. And every word he said, it pushed her further away. Until one day he stopped, and that silence, it screamed louder than anything he'd ever said. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Let that sink in. Sometimes the strongest statement isn't an argument. It's not a clever comeback. It's silence. It's restraint. It's walking away from emotional chaos like a mountain untouched by the storm. Let me ask you, have you ever kept talking just to fill the silence? Because you were afraid she might leave? Have you ever tried to win an argument and ended up losing her respect? Have you ever used your words not to express truth, but to win approval? Most men have. But Stoic men, they understand something deeper. Your words should be like arrows, precise, rare, and powerful. When you speak, speak with calm. When you're angry, wait. When she's emotional, listen. And when there's nothing left to say, say nothing. You see, women remember silence, especially when they expected a reaction, a fight, an explanation. But when you hold your center, your breath, your dignity, she starts questioning herself, not you. That's emotional gravity. That's stoic dominance. And here's what she won't tell you. She is drawn to the man who speaks with purpose and who leaves mystery in his silence, because silence makes her wonder, and wonder breeds attraction. So the next time she tests you, mocks you, or pulls away, don't flood her with desperate words. Pause. Breathe. Say less. And if you say something at all, let it come from your soul, not your ego. The man who masters his tongue masters the woman's mind. 8. Devotion to something greater than her. Have you ever made a woman the center of your universe and lost yourself in the process? It starts innocently. She's beautiful, charming. She makes you feel things you've never felt before. And slowly, without even realizing it, you orbit her. Your goals, they fade. Your routines, you abandon them. Your dreams, you put them on hold just to be closer to her. You tell yourself it's love. But in truth, it's worship. Of the wrong God, let me tell you a story. There was a man, ambitious, full of vision. He woke up early, trained hard, read books, built his business. He had fire in his soul. Then she came along. She was everything he ever wanted and more. He gave her time. He gave her attention. And eventually, he gave her his mission. He stopped waking up early, stopped building. He started chasing her instead of chasing purpose. At first, she loved the attention. But as his fire dimmed, so did her desire. Why? Because no woman wants to be the god in your life. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter." He didn't say, do what she likes. He said, do what is right. And as a man, what's right is to build, to chase greatness, not approval, to be devoted to your purpose, not her emotions. Because when she looks at you, what she really wants to feel is this: if I left him today, he would still rise tomorrow. Let me ask you, have you ever skipped the gym just to spend time with her? Have you delayed a dream because she wasn't sure about it? Have you ever dimmed your light to make her comfortable? If you have, you're not alone. But you must understand this. Women do not fall for men who orbit them. They fall for men who orbit their purpose, because purpose is masculine, mission is magnetic, fire is attractive. She doesn't want to be your everything. She wants to be your partner while you pursue everything else. And here's her secret weakness. The man who puts his mission first, she chases him. The man who puts her first, she forgets him. It's not because she's evil. It's because your purpose is your power. And when you give it up, you lose your masculine edge. So start building again. Pick up that project you abandoned. Go back to the gym. Read, write, lead, build. Let her see that you are devoted to something greater than her. And if she walks away, you'll walk forward. Because you weren't walking for her. You were walking for your destiny. 9. Calm dominance. Have you ever been so calm in a moment of chaos that it shook the entire room, even her? Maybe she was yelling, accusing, testing, storming around, waiting for you to lose your grip. But you didn't. You didn't shout. You didn't chase. You didn't fold. You just looked at her, steady, unmoved. And in that silence, in that stillness, you dominated the moment. That, my brother, is calm dominance, not aggression, not manipulation, not childish games. Just the unshakable presence of a man who has mastered himself. And when a woman encounters that, she feels something ancient. She feels safe, not because you're soft, but because you're solid. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. He led armies, managed politics, faced plagues and war. Yet in his journal, he constantly reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That's calm dominance. Knowing that everything around you can explode, but you remain centered. Because you don't need to control her. You don't need to win the argument. You don't need to react to her emotions. You just stand still like a mountain. Let me ask you, have you ever tried to overpower her with anger, only to make things worse? Have you ever gotten sucked into her chaos trying to fix everything? Have you ever felt like your power was tied to her reaction? That's not dominance. That's dependence. True masculine power is calm. It listens without panic. It watches without ego. It chooses silence when others would shout. And that stillness? It commands everything. Here's what she won't tell you. She tests you because she wants to feel your strength. Not your muscles. Not your wallet. Your emotional stillness. She wants to know, can this man hold space when I fall apart? Can he ground me when I spin out? Can he be the anchor when I'm the storm? And when you show her calm dominance, she melts, because now she knows she's not dealing with a boy who needs her validation. She's dealing with a man. The most dangerous man in the room isn't loud. He's calm. He's controlled. He's aware of everything, but owned by nothing. And that's your final weapon. Because when you master calm dominance, you don't just attract her. You lead her, not by force, but by presence. Not by volume, but by depth. So ask yourself one last time, are you the man who reacts or the man who remains? Because in the end, the men who win in love, in life, in legacy are the ones who have mastered themselves. The fire burns inside, but outside, still waters, unshakable, undeniable, untouchable. The final lesson from Marcus Aurelius. Lucius never won Valeria. He didn't have to. He became the kind of man that women naturally gravitate toward. And so can you. Because every one of these weaknesses is not really about her. It's about you. You can't master women until you've mastered yourself. And that's the ultimate Stoic path. Marcus Aurelius didn't chase desire. He refined character. And that's what women are truly drawn to. Not the chase, but the calm fire. Not the performer, but the pillar. So if you've made it this far, congratulations. You're not like most men. You're ready to grow, not just in attraction, but in depth. This is your journey now, one of mastery, strength, and true masculine wisdom. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.